down to 13,000. But basically, what it boiled down to was we're asking for protection for 25 homes. They based it off assessment, which is different than your assessment base in Manitoba. In the last 10 years, they did one call out to us.
Mm-hmm.
They were confused.
You're very diplomatic. And that,
What we're asking for is that they just couldn't understand the dynamics and how many different ways this could go about. They wanted us to buy into the capital costs, which doesn't really work interprovincially yet. So that was a stickler. We're not... In Saskatchewan, we have the ability to put fire bills on taxes, so you never have a fire arrears when you're dealing with a Saskatchewan fire, because if after your 60 days you can't collect from the ratepayer, you send the bill to the municipality, we pay it, and we put it on their taxes, and we collect it. So that's a little bit different. There's also the mutual aid agreements, which apparently you already have a mutual aid agreement with Highway 49, which would cover us as well. They do not have a mutual aid agreement with Highway 49 though.
Town of Swan River.
Not the town.
Yeah.
But the Benito, from what I understand, Benito Fire Department is now changed. Or something's changed since that original mutual aid agreement was signed. So we may have to look into getting another one signed with Swan Valley West.
Who advised you as such?
I haven't really dug hard into it. The original mutual aid agreement that I've seen says the Benito Fire Department.
That would have been before the amalgamation of Swan Valley West and the town of Benito.
I got you. A name change is what you're talking about.
So we'd probably have to have that redone. Now, I don't know if the secretary from Highway 49 is aware of that or not, but I know you guys still help
Yeah.
with the mutual aid, so.
Well, as you know, our municipality is huge. We have 3 different fire departments, in fact, in the municipality: Bozeman, Swan River, and the Benito Fire Department. So the Benito Fire Department more or less takes care of calls that are basically south of Durban, with a few little jogs, but that's a good general idea. And it's quite a large area, but sparsely populated the further south I think that you go as well. Our operating budget projected for 2021 is $50,000. That's just for operations, for training, for replacement of small tools, hoses, etc., gas for the fire truck, and the like. So we had a couple councillors have actually thrown out ideas as to what might be fair, and I will do that and get your feedback on it. It was felt that at a minimum they would be looking for $5,000 and possibly a fee for service per hour, which would basically cover wages and gas out to an incident. What are your thoughts on that?
Completely reasonable.
Yeah, we thought it was as well. It's not a money-making situation that we're trying to get into here. It's to protect our friends and our neighbors to the west. Many many people in the municipality actually own land and farmland in Saskatchewan as well.
So that would be an annual levy.
Yes.
Wouldn't worry about capital costs of any kind, and then
No.
a pay per use, like as a call out.
Yeah, it would have to be an average of the number of respondents. And actually, Bonito has a very good turnout rate for fire calls. So if, as an example, it was on average 8 individuals, and the cost of per hour for each of those firefighters was $25 as an example, plus, $25 or whatever for gas. So something in the range between, I would think, $250 to $300 per hour per incident. And if you have no incidences, well, you don't pay
Yeah,
that portion of it.
levy. Well, see, in Saskatchewan, they carry fire truck insurance just for that, so that's up to the ratepayers anyway, to carry enough insurance to cover a call out. But you would have your man charge plus your truck charge, would you not?
Well, again, we aren't in it to make money. We haven't really talked about the per hour as much as the retainer per se, but I don't know, do we have some ideas here from those members that are here, or?
What do they charge for a truck charge?
Pardon?
What do they charge for a truck fee?
What does Pelly charge for a truck fee?
I'll have to get back to you, but I'm pretty sure that their truck fees are the cheapest in the area. Now, I know Norquay is 800 for the first hour, 2,400 for the first hour with the new truck, 800 for the man carrier, and then $100 per hour per 4 guys.
So $25 an hour per firefighter after that.
Per man. So your first hour call out, if they come out with the new truck, I think comes up to about $3,500. And then it's a per hour charge after that per man, right?
And you say you are able to purchase insurance as a Saskatchewan resident living in the rural, fire truck protection or coverage.
Yeah, in Saskatchewan, that's not up to the municipality anymore. It used to be the municipality covered everybody's fire truck charge, but not anymore. That's why we have the ability to put charges onto taxes. So if you were to be called out to a ratepayer's fire, and you would bill him direct, and after 60 days, if he didn't pay you for your fire call, forward your bill to me at the office, I would pay it, and then we would put it on their taxes and we would collect it back that way.
Yeah, no, I understand that. My question was if individual residences of the municipality all across Saskatchewan have the ability to purchase fire costs, truck costs, if you will. And from what I understand, yes. And in some cases, it may even be included in a basic policy, as it used to be in Manitoba that way.
Yeah.
And then once municipalities started supplementing fire departments to a larger degree, the government felt that we should no longer be able to collect from the resident because in their mind they deemed it double taxation, which of course in reality it wasn't, because if you have a $100,000 budget and you collect $50,000 from user fees, you then don't levy for $100,000, you only levy for $50,000.
Right.
And you haven't taxed twice, but.
Yeah.
So why don't you do a little bit of research? As you have seen, we want to be fair with you, but we also want you to be fair with us. Do a little research on what your costs are from other fire departments, and we would certainly want to be treated fairly by your municipality as you treat other fire departments fairly, I'm sure.
So would you be willing to cover our whole west side?
From Benito, how far north does your municipality go, Mark? Is it past the Whitefish Lake Road or not? I don't think it is. No, it's only a couple miles north.
Miles north of the ditch road.
Of the ditch road, exactly.
Yeah.
So that when you say the north side, how far east or west are you talking now then?
Did I say west? Sorry, I meant east.
Yeah. Everything, it would be from the main grid coming north of Erin.
Okay. Straight north, so everything on the east side.
Yeah, from that main road that go, and then it does jog, when you hit White Beach, it jogs back to the west, 2 miles, and then it jogs again another 2 miles after that. As you get down towards the ditch road, the ditch road goes, jogs in behind on this Division 4 a little bit further to the west.
I guess what you're talking about now then is a bit further distance. And every mile that the truck rolls, obviously, there's more wear and tear on it, and especially on rural roads. Nothing against yours. Sometimes ours are rough, as I'm sure yours are. So
The best roads
a bit of self-promotion going on here.
No, and I don't know if Highway 49 charges any kind of mileage or not.
No, I'm not talking mileage. I'm just talking, say, as a rollout fee.
Yeah.
So let's.
But we'll look into what exactly they would charge, like if they had to come right to the far end as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I say, all we want to have is a fair treatment.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, and I mean that's what we're kind of looking for, is something that's fair for both, and we want to make sure everybody's got decent coverage around here as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Helps on the insurance, right?
Bet. Yeah.
So it's our shared service. Pretty soon it's up for renewal, or
Yeah, it's here.
it's here.
And what's that?
The other stuff, the roads and that there. But
Oh.
we have a good relationship with you on the roads there, on shared service.
Betcha.
That there works out good. If you guys gravel it, we pay half. This is Glen Foster speaking. Yeah.
Yep.
At least I know on my, like against where I'm up against you there, it's real good. And same if we gravel it there, seems good. We just bill you half.
Yeah. No, that's all seems to be working fine. And I mean, and like I said, with us, we had a fairly big change in council, and to me, I think everything's we're kind of getting back on track here with people that want to, make sure we're getting those services out to the people, and this fire protection is one of them.
Okay, unless there's any other questions or comments, thank you guys for calling in, and we look forward to Kelly doing a bit of research and getting to our office with some numbers, etc.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good evening. Okay, we'll move into general business, 7.1, working alone policy. Moved by Councillor Pierrepont, second by Councillor Foster, resolved that we do hereby agree to promote the new working alone policy as attached and bring awareness of said policy to the employees. Be it further resolved that we shall make every effort to support the working alone policy as adopted by the members of the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West. Questions, comments?
First couple words, we promote or we approve?
Promote.
Should we not approve it?
Promote and approve would probably be a good one, because I think what they were trying to get at is promoting the safety of working alone.
Let's put approve in there too. It's for sure approved.
Okay, any further discussion or questions, comments?
It's working on it.
If not, all in favor?
Yes.
That is carried.
Yeah. One down.
Finally.
Moved by Councillor Pierrepont, second by Councillor Wills. Resolved that we do hereby agree to promote the new safety inspection policy as attached and bring awareness of said policy to the employees. Be it further resolved that we shall make every effort to support the safety inspection policy as adopted by the members of Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West. Do you want to prove inserted in there as well?
Well, I'd like to change more of it. Like I got with the first one, it's specific to the employees, right? I get why we have the signature and stuff. This one, I don't know if we really need to have employees all sign something that's really an internal policy.
Yeah, and this is not like the safety, this is the safety inspection that,
That we have to have
yes,
done.
we
You
do.
know, like, I
We
agree
do,
the
like-
policy is right. I just don't think we need this whole employee part, because.
Yeah, and that could,
No.
yeah, and that, yeah, they don't need to sign it.
It's not on the inspections.
We have to have the inspections, we have to have it come back to us,
Yeah.
so we can, that's quite simple.
So I
as
just stroke
from-
everything to just, we approve policy
Yes.
as to.
And we have to have this in there so it says that we're doing it. And that's what we
Inspection
do.
policy period, and then just leave out as attached and bring awareness of said policy to the employees?
Because we don't, they don't care.
Yeah.
It's something council has to look after, it's not something each employee has to look after.
Okay, we will get Councillor Wills and Pierrepont to initial that change, please.
And the other one was in, yeah.
So you're just striking the employee acknowledgement, or?
Yes,
Okay.
I will reread it. Body of the resolution reads, resolved that we do hereby agree to promote the new safety inspection policy. Be it further resolved that we shall make every effort to support the safety inspection policy as adopted by the members of the Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West.
I think we're still missing approve.
Pardon?
Are we still missing approve in the beginning part?
Okay, we will insert and approve. Matt, you're needed.
Oh, okay.
That's your final answer.
And-
That's
and we
my
know
final
why.
answer.
We're prepared.
Final request.
Running out of room? Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, anything further? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
We've got about a 3-second delay there. That is carried. Moved by Councillor Wills, second by Councillor Foster. Whereas the Safety Committee does not have enough staff to manage ratio to sustain having a committee. Therefore be it resolved that we do hereby approve the closing of the Safety Committee and support that the Safety Coordinator will send all recommendations through the CAO to then be forwarded to Council as required. Who wrote this?
We did together in the safety meeting.
Okay, any questions, comments?
I have to admit, I didn't know that was coming up, so I haven't done the research on it, but does this have any implications for us to not have a safety committee?
That's what was recommended by the person that does the safety inspections. If Donna can explain that, because he was
That's the
actually
final
in, and that's how we found out that really,
Brian Campbell came and did a surprise inspection on us, and he said, you know, it's great that you have a committee, but it's really not required for, I think he said 20 or 40, either one. There was like,
Or under.
we're way under, so we don't have to have a committee.
The number of employees you're talking.
Correct, yes, sorry. And because we can't get employees to come, then there's too many managers versus staff, so we can't have a committee.
There should be 3
That way.
councillors and 3 employees.
Yeah.
But it's not like we're leaving safety by the wayside, that's why,
No, it's
like, we just had, the
Yeah.
policy still had to be in place, plus the certain channels, like, so the inspections happen, then it would come through here, and then the CAO should bring it to us, and we would make, like, but if things need to be ordered, like the first aid kits and that, there should be no reason we have to, they can order them.
So if someone has a safety concern, say XYZ employee is concerned about something, where do they go?
It
To the
gets forwarded
It should come to the
CAO.
CAO, and it, and you know what, it should anyways.
Yeah,
Well, it will eventually anyway.
But if
I
we
mean,
had
committee-
more employees, then
It's
yes,
tough to have.
but,
I would have.
but honestly, in the long run, would saves a little bit of money for those safety issues. I don't know,
Money
in
and
my
time.
opinion, in money and time, in my opinion, but
Okay, anything further?
that was a recommendation.
If not, all in favor?
Yes.
It's carried. Moved by Councillor Foster, second by Councillor Pierrepont. Whereas the council members' code of conduct was passed by resolution of council number 14 on January 5th, 2015. And whereas the code of conduct applies to all members of council. And whereas council believes that Councillor Bill Gade has breached Article 4.2 under Article 4 Rules of Conduct with his Facebook post comments on or about October 14th, 2020, which reads in parts as follows. In my opinion, the other members of council simply aren't qualified to ensure the municipality follows the rules and stops wasting money by making simple mistakes that could be avoided with good management practices. Council's decision appears to be in essence to cut off their nose to spite their face. Excuse me. I fear that level of competence will continue under the new rules, with council having the green light to remove me from council for 3 months at a time to prevent me from telling the public what council has been up to with your tax dollars. Therefore be it resolved that council censure Councillor Gade for disrespectful comments and conduct. And further be it resolved that council request Councillor Gade to resign under section 104, sub 1 of the Municipal Act. Questions or comments?
I know the last couple times we've done this, we haven't necessarily followed the procedures for
We
it.
are this time.
We are this time. Do we have a copy of that here?
Copy of,
The procedure manual for doing this?
I don't know if we have a copy of it or not.
I can look and break if you want, or unless you want me to leave.
Do you have any idea how long it might take to look?
No, I don't.
Okay, we'll take a 5-minute recess and see if we can fulfill the request.
Okay.
Okay, we will call this meeting back into session. You received what you were asking for?
Unfortunately not.
That's not the right one.
Well, I was hoping the council might have in front of the actual procedures to censure a member, so we can look at those. Municipal procedures manual?
That's gonna take me, I'm not sure.
Yeah, Ken would probably, maybe would know what
Yeah,
that
that's
is,
CAO material. I can try digging later in the break if you like. I'm not sure if I'll find it.
See, I have it in front of me, it was more for the benefit of council that I was hoping to find that council had actually read the procedure and had a copy to make sure we could follow it tonight.
Well, unless you know of something other than you being allowed to speak to the resolution, which you were admittedly were not allowed to do so previously,
Twice.
and it was as a result of miscommunication between administration and the MSO. Had nothing to do with council or any other individual's unwillingness to let you speak.
I guess before we go too far, let's pose the question to the group. Like, I could read this or something, we could go to do this tonight, do we want to do this tonight, do we want to table this next meeting and have that in front of us? What's the feeling of the group for what we should do?
Can I-
Well, as you know, we are passing second and third, or it will be put to council. I should not say that we will be passing, but it will be put to council immediately following this resolution. The second and third reading of the new code of conduct bylaw. And this offense occurred under the previous code of conduct, which was passed, as the resolution states, resolution number 14 on January 5th, 2015.
I'm not sure I quite grasped the answer there. Are we wanting to table it or we want to do it right now?
Does anyone see any reason for tabling it?
She's looking it up right now. Give her a couple minutes.
Sorry, the ones that are on there are in pieces. I don't have the full act on there, so I'm gonna have to do more research on that.
Do you want to proceed anyway?
I think we
Yes, I
should.
think you
It's
can.
up to you.
I'm taking it you want to. That's a group.
Nobody wants to table it by the sounds of it, so.
I can keep looking while you guys are doing that. if you want.
You
Well,
don't,
no, I'll read the parts of it.
Okay.
That are important.
Yeah.
I wonder though, could you just make me a copy of the resolution so I have that piece I did wrong? So I can refer to it in writing?
Yep.
It's got the quote there,
can
what
I
I
print
said.
another one off, or do you want this?
I'll just do that one. Get long paper.
Thank you so much.
Because it's just weird.
It's just extra in case you
Yeah.
make notes,
I
right?
don't know.
Do you guys wanna say anything? You want me to start or?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I guess, I just gotta ask, we're not on candid camera, are we?
Pardon?
We're not on candid camera, are we?
Well, I hope not.
But that's just a regular camera, this isn't some.
I would hope not. It's not a
Well,
frivolous issue. It's a very serious issue.
I imagine this will be one of the best rated council meetings we've had in a long time. So, council has presented a resolution, and I know in real time here, it's been quite a while since it was presented, so many of us might have forgotten what it says. I suspect the version of this online will have that big gap removed. During the break, we looked for the documentation for how to conduct a censure, but no one in the council chambers was able to find the documentation on how to properly conduct a censure. Even though presumably some members of council knew this was coming tonight. So the resolution reads breach section 4.2 under Article 4, and I have a copy of that here. So to start, I do have the procedures. The decision to censure a member of council is a serious matter, should not be made lightly, given its public nature. To ensure the process is fair and objective, the following process is recommended. A council member who alleges that another member has breached the code of conduct must bring forward a resolution to censure the council meetings open to the public. So we are at a public meeting this time, which is great. The first two times we did this, that did not occur. We breached that section. The resolution must state the name of the council member, it does. Section of the code, this alleged to breach, it does. Brief description of the actions, it does that. Once the resolution is introduced, moved and seconded, all council members, including the individual who's allowed to, or who's alleged to breach the code, may take part in debate on the resolution. The first two times we did this, not so much. I was prevented from speaking or defending myself in any way, which resulted in council committing defamation. The debate must take place in the council meeting open to the public. We are here tonight. It's critical that the member alleging a breach is able to provide reasons for why he or she believes a specific section of the code has been breached, including examples of members' behavior believed to be contrary to the code. This is moved by Mr. Foster. Mr. Foster, it's now your requirement to explain how I breached the code. Go ahead, please.
I think it's right
Says
plain
right
in the
there.
resolution.
So, just to be
Councillor
clear, the
Reeve.
procedures manual says that he must now speak to this. So go ahead and speak to it, Mr. Foster.
No one is forced to speak to anything when it is outlined in the resolution.
So to be clear, this is Mr. Foster's opportunity to present evidence that I have breached this code.
And it is
No,
in the
no,
resolution.
no.
The evidence, I'm going to rule you out of order unless you quit grandstanding.
Sir, you are doing just as fine grandstanding. So
I'm not.
The procedures manual requires that the evidence now be presented, which we aren't doing, so we're breaching the procedure. This in itself is not evidence. You see, this is a statement that I made on the internet.
Should we all bring it up and
Well, we would have
so
to
that you can
discuss,
jog your memory?
we would have to discuss why this is a breach of this section, and we're not doing that. So how did this breach section 4.2? It's not in the resolution. Because you see, 4.2 doesn't provide for censuring me for disrespectful comments.
4.1 does,
Every
4.2
member,
doesn't.
every member of council shall conduct.
and they said
4.2.
10.4.1, she said.
4.2. Whereas council believes that council Bill Gade has breached Article 4.2 under Article 4. So We're not looking at 4.1, we're looking at 4.2. That's the alleged. Let me read what you say I've done wrong. In my opinion, the other members of council simply aren't qualified to ensure the municipality follows the rules. So we don't have the procedures manual here. We aren't following the rules now, while we're alleging that I've done wrong by saying that we aren't qualified to follow the rules. This is what's so laughable to me. You aren't following the rules now, but you're mad at me for saying you're unable to follow the rules time and time again. And stops wasting money by making simple mistakes that could be avoided with good management practices. For example, having a copy of the procedures manual present so we could follow the rules, instead of wasting time and money. The council's decision appears to be in essence to cut off the nose to spite your face. I fear that level of competence, whoever typed this doesn't seem to have done so well copying either. That level of competence will continue under the new rules, with council having the green light to remove me from council for 3 months at a time to prevent me from telling the public what council's been up to with your tax dollars. 4.2, respect for decision-making process. Every member of council is expected to respect the decision-making process of the municipality. While members may hold different views on any given matter, once council has made its decision, all members must uphold the decision. Members' interaction with the public, the press, or other entities must recognize the same limitation or inability of a council member to speak for council, except to repeat explicitly council's decisions, except for participation in council deliberations about whether reasonable interpretation and implementation of council policy has been achieved. Members will not express individual opinions or judgment of performance of employees or the CAO. So in this particular paragraph, which you're complaining of, there is no mention of the CAO or staff, simply a mention that members of council, in my opinion, aren't qualified to follow the rules. So I would submit that tonight we have an example unfolding while we do this of members of council being unable to follow the rules. So it would seem to be true. We could talk about the amount of money that we have wasted. It has been substantial. We could talk about money we're about to waste in a few days. For example, this is the last council meeting before the deadline to apply for $5 million of grant funding for a new fire truck for Benito.
In the works.
But it's not on here, and there's no resolution planned for tonight to approve the grant application, which we would need to do. So we're going to throw away whatever share of a new fire truck we could have got. Because again, council's not paying attention to the little things. We waste money. It says it's my opinion. I am not expressing a view of council in this. I'm not saying council feels this way. I'm not saying council made a decision this way. I'm expressing my opinion on council, which is 100% clearly within my rights. And not only is it within my right in this Code of Conduct, Section 4.2, to express my view of council, it continues to be my view of council, and only does it become my view of council more strongly. As we sit here tonight admitting that the first 2 times we censured me, we broke the rules. Tonight we're attempting to censure me, and we're again breaking the rules. To quote from the thing that was not provided to council to follow, it would be inappropriate for a council to censure a member on the basis of an unsubstantiated allegation.
Are you suggesting that the allegation is unsubstantiated?
Unfortunately, Mr. Foster chose to present no evidence tonight. The bar for censuring is common law principle. If the prosecution presents no evidence of wrongdoing, and the defense comes to the table, the prosecution cannot win. The prosecution has to present a case. If they refuse to present a case, the motion goes away. In this particular instance, not only am I here and no case was presented, it would appear that this statement is very, very true, as being proven right now. Nothing in 4.2 has been breached by this statement whatsoever. So the only choice council can make is to vote against this. To do anything else would call further into question council's ability to follow the rules. The rules are clear. This must be voted down. To vote for it is to say the rules don't matter, that 4.2 says something it doesn't, that I've somehow said something here that breaches 4.2 is ludicrous. I request a recorded vote. And if Mr. Councillor Foster wishes to speak to it, I'd certainly still be willing to hear his speaking to it, but if he doesn't, it leaves us no choice but to all vote no.
Says you,
Says the law.
says you.
The law.
No.
This resolution
The law,
was,
Mr. Pierrepont, do you have anything in front of you? Did you bring the procedures manual? Did you bring the law? Did you bring the act? Did you bring anything? Or did you just come to council tonight to have a little fun, censure Mr. Gade again, and break all the rules in doing it? Because that's what we've done the first 2 times, so let's make it 3. Why not make it 3?
well, you know, you can point out every time, in your opinion, council breaks rules, but you do not see yourself ever
Show me
breaking
where
a
this
rule.
breaks the rule.
Ever breaking
Where did this
a
break the
rule.
rule, sir?
No, you haven't broken the
And you
rules.
do not
Where
have to
does
holler.
this break the rule? This thing written here and this rule here, where does it break it? Just explain to me how it breaks the rule. It
Just vote. What
doesn't.
I don't understand is how Just do you vote, think Matt, don't worry about it. that Just that's vote. right to do that on Facebook?
That I tell people that this
Every chance
council
you
is-
get.
Is
Okay,
it
order,
people
please.
Following the rules?
Order,
It's 100%
please.
accurate. We're not following them now.
Order. This resolution was written by an individual who has numerous years as a CAO. And for you to call into question how it is
Are
worded,
you saying Mr. Foster didn't write this? Because it's required he does. He
Mr.
brought it,
Gade,
he must
you
write it.
are, again, grandstanding.
I'm pointing out
No
the
member
rules,
of
sir.
council actually writes a resolution.
Actually, one does. I tend to
So-
write resolutions. I seem to be the one capable of writing a resolution here.
So I am ready to call the question unless are further questions or comments. Mr. Councillor Gade requested a vote, recorded vote. So if you could please write down councillors' names and we will record how they respond to the question.
Reeve?
Councillor Blosha,
Yes.
Councillor Pierrepont,
Yes.
Councillor Kushniryk. Councillor Kushniryk, are you there?
Yes. Oh, sorry. Did you get that?
Yes.
Okay.
That was your vote?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I had my speakers on and I had it muted. Sorry.
Okay, not a problem. Councillor Wills,
Yes.
Councillor Gade,
Point of order. If council was actually following the rules, you would know I'm not allowed to vote on this resolution. But once again, we see that council hasn't read the rules, hasn't paid attention to them, is now
So-
asking for my
so
vote,
now-
but I'm not allowed to vote on it.
so now I'm giving you the opportunity because it wouldn't be the first time that a councillor has voted when they were not able to, under the law.
Actually, sir,
Councillor Foster,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Declare the resolution carried,
Not sure what's the point of order.
he abstains.
I don't abstain. I'm not allowed technically to even be asked to vote. The fact you're asking is proof you didn't follow the rules.
Perhaps the new code of conduct, if it is accepted tonight, will allay some of your fears. This one you will be allowed to vote on. Moved by Councillor Wills, second by Councillor Blosha. Whereas council deems it necessary and in the best interest of the municipality to enact a code of conduct bylaw under the provisions of section 84.1 sub 1 of the Municipal Act, therefore be it resolved that bylaw number 008320, being a bylaw of the Municipality of Swan Valley West to establish and regulate a code of conduct for members of council, be hereby given the second reading. And this is a recorded vote reading. Councillor Blosha,
Yes.
Councillor Gade,
You haven't allowed discussion yet. As is required by our resolutions and our policies, our procedures.
Okay,
When
if
we
you have
read a
something to
resolution-
say, go ahead.
Okay, so first of all, second reading is not a required recorded vote. If you actually check the municipal act, you find that second reading does not require a recorded vote. No one here requested one, so it shouldn't be a recorded vote. Unless someone requests it. So it doesn't seem we're able to follow the rules there. Did we make any changes to this bylaw since we last met? Anything at all from what was presented to council previously?
Not to my knowledge.
In that case, I will save my comments for third reading. I do request a recorded vote on this matter.
And your vote is?
My vote is no.
Councillor Foster.
Yes.
Councillor Kushniryk.
Yes.
Councillor Pierrepont.
Yes.
Councillor Wills.
Yes.
And yes, myself. It's carried 6-1. What perception? That they had a recorded vote because they knew it was going to be asked for. Moved by Councillor Blosha, second by Councillor Foster. Whereas council deems it necessary and in the best interest of the municipality to enact a code of conduct, bylaw under number of provisions, number of section 84.1, sub 1 of the Municipal Act. Therefore be it resolved that bylaw number 0083-20, being a bylaw of the Municipality of Swan Valley West to establish and regulate a code of conduct for members of council, be hereby given the third and final reading, signed by the Reeve and signed and sealed by the CAO. Questions, comments? Now open. Go ahead.
I'm just curious if we have any intention of complying with section 142.4 of the Municipal Act.
What are you suggesting does not comply?
Each member present at the meeting in which third readings take place must, before the proposed bylaw receives third reading, be given or have the opportunity to review the full text of the proposed bylaw and any amendment passed after first reading. So I'd like to see the bylaw as we're about to approve it when it's not in our package. I don't think as a council it's diligent of us to
Yeah,
approve a
last
bylaw we
week.
don't have in front of us to look at, to make sure it says what
Hopefully
we
I
want
have
to
it in
say.
my package. James will have it on his desk otherwise. It'll be on his desk.
Anyone else have any comments while staff are looking for the bylaw? To my understanding, it was unchanged.
I have it up on my iPad, so.
From the previous meeting.
We all do have a copy of it on.
Let me just go back to your last meeting's meeting.
Garbage collection.
How'd you get to school? You just moved here?
No, the emails.
Oh. You wanna scroll these? You just scroll. Just lightly, just a little bit, but I like to move it over here, otherwise you get it.
You must have a lighter touch than me.
Yeah, it does, it takes a real feather. It's $3.50. Did you want me to print it?
We have it here on the computer. We can lift it off.
It's in the truck, so,
I can share.
well, there was no changes to the first one. Well, that was fine.
No, that's what we have as the first one on there.
Yeah.
Do you have it on yours as well,
I have the
Councillor
first
Reeve?
one, but my understanding is the ratepayer was in the office and was told that there would be changes made before second and third reading, so I want to see what the current version is.
A ratepayer was told that there would be changes made.
I was actually told that we would have opportunity to make changes, and there were changes to be made. In fact, even our acting CAO said changes were required to the bylaw. So I'm just looking to make sure that some of those changes were actually made before we pass something that is non-functional because of mistakes on it.
I think what we should do is call a recess for 10 minutes, and we will get on the phone and try to get a hold of either the CAO or the assistant CAO and get to the bottom of this.
And she said she did have it, so she's just printing.
No, but you were just expressing the fact that you were told by a taxpayer that there were changes that were going to be made.
Yeah, he couldn't have a copy of the bylaw because it wasn't finalized. Things had to be changed before it was brought to council.
Okay, was that what was told to him, or was it told to him that it would possibly have changes?
So he was told he couldn't have a copy of it because it wasn't finalized. So the only conceivable reason I could see to not provide a copy of a public document was that we were making changes.
Or it could be just that it
It's
wasn't
here.
finalized.
It's here if you
So if it
want
was
to share. Like
finalized,
you can scroll.
and it's finalized.
Well, it's not finalized
not
after first
finalized
reading,
yet.
though.
Well, technically it is. See, if we actually follow the rules, we find that once we do first reading, it's a public document that anyone can see. So when someone comes into our office and says, may I please see the bylaw that you're absolutely right, yeah, they would be allowed to see it. But we prevent them from seeing it because we said, you can't see it yet because we have to make changes to it before we pass it, which is fine, I get that.
And
We
all
don't
the
want a
reasons
copy
to
of this
go
wrong.
and find out what was said, and I agree with the recess. We all need a reset. I'm even gonna kick it off.
Okay, we'll call a 10-minute recess. Okay, all council members are back at the table, so we will reconvene. Councillor Gade, you had the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve. So in the break, we've got a copy of what's proposed to the bylaw tonight that presumably was at second reading and now is here for third reading. Of interest, this is not the same material that was provided to us for first reading. This has had the corrections made to it that were not made at first reading. So the first reading actually had all of these bullet points with the wrong letters and wrong numbers, and none of the sections made sense. There's also a section further back in the document where the wrong words were used, so a part of the investigation process was invalid. That has been corrected. So I certainly am glad to see these corrections made. It still greatly troubles me that as a council we would have intended to pass something that is had changes and we didn't even look at them. But thankfully the changes are good changes. And it's a little scary sometimes how we rush into things without reading stuff. I expressed concerns in first reading about a couple things in the bylaw. And at the time, the Reeve thanked me for my concerns, and he indicated that certainly in second and third reading, we could look at making some changes to this bylaw. We find ourselves in third reading now, so I want to again discuss what I think should be changed. I know some members disagree with me, but it's my belief, so I think it's important to bring it up, and we can certainly agree to disagree if that's the case. As written, this bylaw takes away the rights of every voter in Swan Valley West except for 7. It allows 7 people and only 7 people in Swan Valley West to monitor the code of conduct for our council. It allows no one else in this municipality to see if our council is doing their job correctly and if we're following this code. And certainly I agree with much of what's in this code. I believe in a respectful workplace, and especially believe in the sexual harassment portions of this code. I think that's important. And it is with regard to the sexual harassment where I cast my mind the furthest to the fact that this bylaw takes away the rights of thousands of people to allege that a member of our council has committed sexual harassment. And I hope we never find ourselves in a position where someone has. It's certainly my hope that it never happens. I think that's everyone's hope. The reality is, unfortunately, sometimes in this world, bad things do happen. And should, heaven forbid, someone from this council commit such an egregious thing as sexual harassment, or really any of the lesser offenses contained herein, I would be extremely troubled at the bar of requirements we're presenting here for someone to make a complaint. Essentially, if a female, or really a male, is sexually harassed, they aren't able to place that complaint themselves unless they happen to be one of the 7 people that we've made more important in this bylaw. They would have to convince one of those 7 people to place a complaint on their behalf. Instead of being able to speak to the person and seek resolution themselves informally, as is in here, they would have to come to one of us and ask one of us 7 to help them seek informal resolution for a sexual harassment complaint. Certainly, I would suspect that would be an uncomfortable thing for many people if they're in that situation. It doesn't require informal resolution. Certainly they could ask to go to a formal process, which I think most would. However, we prevent them from doing that in this bylaw as well. We keep any person except 7 from being able to bring forward a sexual harassment complaint against a member of council. We keep the staff from being able to bring forward that complaint. We keep the CAO, the office staff, where unfortunately that would be the most likely to happen, I think. Could be wrong, it could happen on a grader. But I would think, in the office, in close quarters, something bad could happen. But we take away their right. There is no requirement under Manitoba law for us to take away that right. We're arbitrarily doing that as a council. We could choose to give every single person the right to make a complaint of sexual harassment. But instead tonight, unless we make changes, we're choosing to take away their rights to make such a complaint and to have them have to bring it to one of us, approve to one of us their complaint is suitable and worthy of being brought forward. I don't feel that's right. I feel that council members should be held to this code of conduct, not just by 7 people, but by all people. That anyone should be able to make a complaint without council acting as a gatekeeper to say, no, I don't feel that was really sexual harassment, and as a result, I will prevent you from having a provincial adjudicator look at it. I will prevent you from having an outside agency from this council look at it. The entire point of this should be that a complaint goes to an outside person to look at, not that we are able to stop a complaint here by circling the wagons. And all of us agree, no, we're not going to let person bring a complaint, because as long as we all refuse to bring the complaint forward on their behalf, it doesn't exist. That's wrong. I would like to see an amendment tonight that makes that change so that all persons can present a complaint of a breach of this code of conduct. So I would like to, I guess the process would be to move that amendment. I wonder if there would be a seconder that would go along with me on that so we could have a vote on it.
You're moving an amendment in that regard?
Yes,
Do we have a seconder?
I can speak to exactly what I want changed if we get a seconder. I don't know if we will.
Do we have a seconder? Third time, do we have a seconder for Councillor Gade's motion of amendment? Motion of amendment's lost.
Okay. The other portion of the bylaw I had a concern with is the sanction portion. I spoke to this previously as well. I believe we should add to this, I'm not suggesting we limit the sanctions that can be applied. I'm suggesting we add language that council must set an end date for sanctions. So many of these have an end date, but some of them don't. So example, suspending or removing the deputy head of council, suspending or removing the head of council, removing from committees. Those things don't have an end date. And I think it would be reprehensible for us to not provide at the time of something like that being done an end date, and we should enshrine that in here so that part of the punishment is telling the person what the actual sentence is. If we look to the criminal justice system, if someone is charged with a crime and they're convicted and they go to sentencing, it's not acceptable in Canada for a judge to say, I sentence you to jail, but I'm not going to tell you how long. I'm not going to give you any idea. It could be a day, it could be a month, it could be 4 years. I'm not going to tell you, why don't you come back and ask once in a while and say, can I get out of jail yet? That's not how we do things in Canada. When we set punishments, we set clear punishments. And by not having an end date, it's not a clear punishment. So my second proposal for amendment would be that we add language that adds council that at time of imposing a sanction, we set an end date for the sanction. If it's one that needs to end. Some of them obviously don't. If you censure a member, they're censured. There's no end to that. It's over and done. But for things that have a period of time to them, that we would set an end date and say this sanction is for this amount of time. So I would move that motion.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that amendment? We have a seconder for that amendment? Third time, do we have a seconder for that amendment? Motion to amend has failed.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve. That's
So I would just like to assure everyone that although Mr. Gade is correct in stating that this council code of conduct does not allow the public at large or members of the staff to lodge a complaint themselves, there are numerous other vehicles that they can utilize to lodge complaints, whether it be that of sexual harassment or bullying or any other misconduct as seen in the eyes of an individual other than a council member.
Can I just ask how someone would lodge a complaint of bullying, for example?
Through the ombudsman, most likely, would be one way of doing it, depending on how the bullying took place. If it were on Facebook, you could approach Facebook. If it were on your, or not your, shouldn't have said that, in a media, some form of the media. Every form of media has governing agencies, even though most of them are rather toothless. Lodges or complaints could be lodged against an individual.
Would there be, for example, if a complaint of bullying was made to the ombudsman, would there be any sanctions then at the council level for a councillor doing that?
There may be, I guess, usually the ombudsman makes recommendations to correct if they adjudicate that bullying in this case had taken place. I'm sure that they would make some sort of recommendation in their final report. I don't know that for absolute certain because no member of council, even yourself, has been reported to the ombudsman. So, but it is an avenue.
Just for interest's sake, because we bring that up and we present that as an avenue, this bylaw as written would prevent the ombudsman from making a recommendation to punish a council member anyway.
I don't believe that the ombudsman would be governed by a municipal bylaw.
Well,
Come on.
if you'll indulge.
Are there any other questions or comments with regard to this?
I have one. This bylaw provides that a complaint must be brought to council within 30 days. So if by chance a complaint was not brought here through this bylaw because the majority of people, the vast majority, everyone except 7, is unable to bring a complaint. Say, for example, someone wrote a letter to the ombudsman the ombudsman, I suppose, if they're able to receive the letter, complete a full investigation, issue a report, and send it to this council within 29 days of the incident, could possibly trigger this bylaw. Workload of the ombudsman currently is far in excess of 29 days. So essentially, there would be no way for a person to avail themselves of the ombudsman and have any sanctions brought against a council member. Specifically because of things we've written in here, we have included that 30-day timeline, which would rule out the ombudsman in its entirety.
To this point in time, the general public have been protected, which is the point that I made. So I would ask if there is any further discussion on the third and final reading prior to the recorded vote. Now, are you ready for the question? Councillor Blosha.
Yes.
Councillor Gade.
I abstain, but under the Municipal Act, because this is the third reading of the bylaw, my reason for abstention must be recorded in minutes. The reason I abstained to voting on this bylaw is because I do not believe that a woman who has been sexually harassed should be required to ask what could potentially be an all-male council for permission to complain about her harasser. And thus I abstain.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Foster.
Yes.
Councillor Kushniryk.
Yes.
Councillor Pierrepont.
Yes.
Councillor Will.
Yes.
My vote is a yes. It's carried 6 to 1 abstention. Okay, we move on to 7.8. Moved by Councillor Gade, second by Councillor Blosha. Whereas the Municipality of Swan Valley West has received the amendments to the emergency plan, therefore be it resolved that we do hereby approve these amendments submitted by Prairie Mountain Security, Stan Anderson. Questions, comments on this?
It's basically just a contact list update.
It's just the
It's
contact.
contact list update that needs to be in the file.
Anything further? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed?
I voted yes.
Okay, it's carried.
Decide on a special meeting date.
That's for.
7.7.
We can discuss that later. We are going to be establishing committee. Administration just asking about 7.7, which is shared services. And it's recommended from Ken to set up a special meeting date. We probably will go into that, I would hope, with a committee rather than council at large, but we'll get to that later. Okay, 7.9. Moved by Councillor Pierrepont, second by Councillor Blosha. Whereas the Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 39, has requested council support for its application to the Community Foundation of Swan Valley, Inc. for the purchase of a sea can for the storage of its annual Remembrance Day ceremony goods and materials. And whereas council believes it to be in the best interest of the community to support the Legion's request, therefore be it resolved that council authorize Reeve Galloway to send a letter of support to the Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 39, for the Legion's application to the Community Foundation of Swan Valley, Inc. for the above noted purpose. And be it further resolved that council authorize a donation of $2,000 to the Legion to assist with the costs associated with the purchase of the sea can. Questions or comments?
Did the town of Swan ever get a similar request for the same amount, or?
I do not know. That information, I don't think came to this office.
Yeah, like I was looking through this here, and I'm not certain that we're paying an equal portion. I mean, if I've got nothing against the Legion. I just wonder if the town is paying an equal portion. Seems how the Legion is in the town. So.
So what are you suggesting, that we should postpone passing this resolution until we find out what the other municipality is paid?
I don't know if we can change the resolution in any way to say pay an equal portion, or if not, then I'd be glad to pay the $2,000. I just want to know that we're paying our equal share.
It's just been pointed out to me that the actual cost of the 20-foot sea can with lock and lock bar and delivery comes to $4,555.
And then it says the Legion's putting 25.55 towards it, so we are putting two.
And the Legion is contributing $25.55.
So nobody else is contributing with us.
Yeah.
Mr. Gade has it.
Go ahead.
You know, I would hate to breach our new code of conduct just minutes after it was passed. Did anyone actually read the request? Because they aren't, like, to be clear, it's especially clear for Jeremy, I have no opposition to giving the Legion $2,000. If that's so the decision of council, the Legion is important, and supporting them by $2,000 is the least we could do. The problem is, that's not what they asked for. What the actual request is, as was provided to all of us, was that they need a signature so that the community foundation can give them $2,000. They're not asking for us to give them $2,000. It specifically in the documentation says they have all of the money they need except for the $2,000 from the community foundation.
They're asking for it.
They're asking for us simply to sign the agreement saying they can apply for the $2,000.
Okay, there's some clarification coming.
Yeah, so Ken asked me to phone Donald Case back, just double check and make sure. And he said, yes, they're asking for the $2,000 as well. But he had to phone somebody else to get the clarification. And Ken did up that resolution. Not saying it, I mean, we can change it for sure. It doesn't seem fair to do all of it.
Well, they asked for a letter of support, they didn't ask for.
Okay, so it's just a letter of support then to the community foundation then.
No, they are also asking for money. It wasn't written on the initial request because that's not what he said when he first came in. Over the phone, he said he needed, they were asking for $2,000 as well. So.
If it's all right to speak, this request would normally go to the town of Swan River, given the location of it, but the town of Swan River has developed a policy of refusing to countersign Swan Valley Community Foundation grant applications. It is their claim it breaches the Canada Revenue Agency rules for being a charitable agency. I do not tonight weigh in on that in one way or the other. I simply tell you that's the reason they won't sign these, is because they, in their opinion, it breaches the CRA rules and could cost them their ability to take charitable donations as a municipality. So no doubt it's come to us because of that. We've seen this before, we've had other groups bring these to us. Traditionally, we have signed them. We've had that discussion of whether or not it's appropriate, that's water under the bridge at this point. Traditionally, we're in the habit of signing these so that they can access grant funding. So I would be, I don't know what the deadline for the community foundation is, but is it not very, very soon? If we delay this, they're not going to be able to put the grant application in. So I would prefer to see us pass a resolution authorizing someone to sign their grant application for them and then seek clarity on the $2,000, because certainly the CCAN's not coming tomorrow. We have a couple weeks on the $2,000, but we may not have a couple weeks on signing the grant application.
Is it your understanding, Councillor Gade, that the Legion is not a registered charitable organization?
If they were, there's no reason for us to sign this.
All they would want by the sound of this is a letter of support, not to have the funds flow through the municipality.
So what they have is attached to it is the thing for us to sign, for the funds to flow through the municipality.
That's why they're asking for a sponsor, I believe.
Yes.
That's what they call it.
Well, I would have assumed that the Legion would have been a charitable organization. I can't believe that it wouldn't be. The actual matter of the fact is that without,
Yeah, so they're all separate.
without an agency enabling grants to flow through their charitable organization, no entity could in fact receive a grant. Because under the CRA, as a charitable organization, you are only able to grant to other charitable organizations. So if an entity is in need and somebody is desirous of assisting them financially, they have to find an enabling entity that has charitable status to flow the money through.
That's true, completely true. The only reason municipalities have a trouble with it is we have an additional rule to follow that normal charities don't. Normal charities absolutely can sign this as long as it somehow fills their mandate, done deal. Well, the municipality does something a bit different, and that's why the town did it.
However, municipalities are one of the few charitable organizations that can in fact grant to someone other than a charitable organization. And I speak from experience with our own charitable organization.
So for example, say someone came to the municipality of Swan Valley West and said, I would like to donate $20,000 to a specific project. We could randomly pick one, something we've done recently, like the skate park. We aren't able to say to them, yes, we can do that and give you a receipt for it. The law for us requires that we can accept the $20,000 donation to general funds, but that there can be no stipulation of what it's used for, because we're a municipality. So should we then choose to flow those funds through the project, there can be no tie from Part A to Part C, because we're the intermediate B. So say somebody gave us $20,000 and then got naming rights of the skate park, that would break the CRA rules. What would normally happen for something like this, if there was a charity, they would pick one that had a similar aim. So say there was a charity of Legions. If I'm looking here, I don't immediately see their name on the list of charities. So it could well be they don't have a charity number.
They don't have one registered here.
Yeah, so I don't think they are a charity, at least I'm not immediately seeing it. There's 395 Legions, so it's tough to say. The money would go to the charity, and the charity would write the check for the CCAN. So it wouldn't actually be granting it to the Legion. The charity would be doing it as part of their thing, and that's how they get around it.
Also, if there's a request made, as I understand it, if there's a request made from the eventual recipient of the donation to the municipality, then that legalizes it as well.
You know, it would be an area I would want to take up in tax code.
At any rate, my suggestion is, and you can agree or disagree, that we offer the letter of support. So we rewrite a resolution offering our support in the form of a letter and find out about the $2,000 as far as the donation goes. However, if they are asking for us to flow the money through, then they are, as I said, going to have to my knowledge, going to have to submit a letter of request asking for the municipality to to grant them the $2,000. And this may be the $2,000 that they are in fact referring to. If they're getting 2,000, or if 2,000 is available from the foundation, they're wanting that money to flow through. So if what we've gotten from them is an actual request for a grant of $2,000, then I think, and again, I stand to be corrected, but I believe from past occurrences that we should be covered.
Just, this is unfortunate, but the deadline's passed. So this request has come to us too late.
When was the deadline for a request to the
October
foundation?
16th.
October which?
16th,
16th.
yes.
But he was just talking to me about it today again.
You know, so this community foundation will accept this. Certainly it would work for next time. But
Well, I guess there's no harm in going forward with it if council agrees to do so.
if we're going to do it, I would like to see us give you authority to sign this.
You'd like to see who?
I'd like to see, if we're gonna do this, council give you authority to sign right there.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna have to sign this page, like a letter won't be
They're not
enough.
asking,
It's gotta
in
be
this
signed.
application, I've read it from start to finish now, that we've been sitting here, they're not asking us for the $2,000. They're
They're asking
contributing,
it to flow through.
they're asking the $2,000 if you read it from the community foundation, and they are putting in 25,555 themselves.
Yeah, so we just need to
They're not
sign
asking
this.
us for money, just sign it and.
Well, eventually
hopefully
we'll
maybe
have to
they're
give
like-
them the
maybe-
$2,000, and if this
Yes,
is the request
but it's
for
coming, it would
But
come
it
from
will
the
have to
community.
arrive in our coffers prior to us
Yes.
paying it out, obviously.
That's what I meant. So. I just call for the question.
But not as written there. So
No,
there
we have to,
No.
we have to,
we have to rewrite that.
And it doesn't look like to me like they have a chair, they're not a,
Yeah, I don't see.
they're a human service organization.
we
not
can
charitable.
delete the last paragraph
Just
here, and I
different.
think probably
You're fine.
would be able to pass the resolution, the rest of the resolution the way it's written. And the last paragraph reads, "And further be it resolved that council authorize a donation of $2,000 to the Legion to assist with the costs associated with the purchase of the sea camp." Agreed?
Council's decision.
Can you read that to me again, please?
Pardon?
Can I read it?
Yep. I can read it and then the rest.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just gonna sign it. Okay, the resolution was moved by Councillor Pierrepont, seconded by Councillor Blosha, and it reads, whereas the Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 39, has requested council's support for its application to the Community Foundation of Swan Valley, Inc. for the purchase of a sea can for the storage of its annual Remembrance Day ceremony, goods, and materials. And whereas council believes it to be in the best interest of the community to support the Legion's request, therefore be it resolved that council authorize Reeve Galloway to sign a letter of support to the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 39 for the Legion's application to the Community Foundation of Swan Valley, Inc. for the above noted purpose.
Just have to initial that.
Any further comment or question? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
That's carried. Okay, we'll get into finance, 8.1. Moved by Councillor Wills, second by Councillor Gade, resolved that the Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West does hereby approve the following payments. General checks number 16437 to 16453 in the amount of $1,787,318.77 for a grand total of $1,787,318.77. Questions or comments? Big part of that is the payment to the school.
So I have some questions loosely related to this. As I'm sure everybody here is aware, in the last, since we last met, it's been revealed publicly now that the municipality of Westlake Gladstone has lost nearly $500,000 through fraud in their bank account. And tonight, the municipality again, as council, is not being presented a bank statement, nor is it being presented any type of audited financial information to show what our bank account balance is. Since I joined council, this has been a perennial problem. It's happened numerous times. I know many times council has tried to blame me for that issue that I've caused it. Whether I have or not, it's a moot point. The reality is we aren't seeing that information. Each time we have seen the information that involves a photocopy of our bank balances, and have seen a piece of paper that specifically says what the account balance should be in each of those accounts, they have never matched. Each time we've seen that, I've asked questions about why our bank account balances on this sheet don't match the actual balances. And each time I'm told, again, that we're working on it, and we're going to make some changes, and they will soon match. I am extremely troubled that we have that problem, and that so soon after $500,000 being stolen from another municipality, we still have no oversight by this council to ensure that there is not money missing from our bank account. There could be no money missing, which is my hope, and certainly my vast hope. There could be a penny missing, there could be $500,000 missing. And nothing since I've joined this council has ever been presented here in a financial report to show otherwise and show the money's all there. We need to see that every month. We need to have it accurate and see it and put our stamp of approval on the fact that yes, the money is in the accounts. Because it's far too easy for the money to not be there. It's far too easy for something to have happened. It could be fraud. It could be any type of fraud. It could be theft. Certainly, I would hope that never happens to us. Unfortunately, it has to other municipalities. Compounding my concern is the understanding that the Association of Manitoba Municipalities insurance plan has denied the claim from Westlake Gladstone for that money. The bank has denied the claim for that money. I spoke at length with counsel from Westlake Gladstone about exactly how the problem occurred. We are equally vulnerable to it because of the way we do our banking, irregardless of whether we see the reports or not. The type of attack that occurred can occur, according to them, only with credit unions. It can't occur with chartered banks because there's a difference in the rules of how they apply things. So as long as we're banking at a credit union, we're vulnerable to an attack, and we also would not be covered by the insurance or by the bank. Further troubling, their counsel tells me that while the insurance company refuses to disclose to me, there are other municipalities in Manitoba who have tried to advance the claim for a similar thing. Certainly, I have never seen anything across this table suggesting we're one of them, but I don't know who those people are. In conversation with our management, I was told, and so was another person from our organization, that there are some real surprises coming, and if we're not lucky, we're going to be very embarrassed by some things very soon. And all of that together causes me a great deal of worry and a loss of sleep. So certainly we need to approve these checks tonight, but it is imperative that we begin taking our fiduciary duty seriously. We must see that bank account statement monthly, and the numbers according to what should be in those accounts must be there, or we have to know why it's not there. So far as yet, they have not matched, and sometimes they have not matched to the tune of over $200,000. It could be gone and we wouldn't know it at this point. We must check these things. That's my comments.
Anything further? I guess rest assured that annually we are audited. Okay, question, all in favor? Opposed? It's carried, 6-1. Eight point two, moved by Councillor Blosha, second by Councillor Wills, resolved that Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West does hereby approve the following payments. Payroll payments number 3347 to 3362 in the amount of $20,808.61 for a grand total of $20,808.61. Questions or comments on there?
Was contacted by a former member of council about our payroll checks, how we're passing these resolutions, and they expressed a concern that I share. They thought, and I think also, that by presenting this list of check numbers and the amounts of pay without any additional information does not, as a council, give us an ability to truly oversee what's happening here. I'm not sure I'm necessarily suggesting that we would put the employees' names here, but I am suggesting things like the amount of overtime paid in each period would show, so that council would have some oversight if there was, for some reason, vast amounts of overtime being used, something going on, we would have some ability to look into these numbers, because right now, I couldn't tell you if the person that got check 3354 should have been paid $782.05 or not.
It's something we can advise or ask finance to look into. Any other questions or concerns? If not, all in favor? That's carried.
Yes.
Okay, discussion. 9.1 OSS. As we spoke earlier, first break, we have before us tonight a package again of the proposed pickup areas in the periphery of Swan and Kenville, as well as around the Needle in the rural. I think some of you had an opportunity to look. And the objective of looking was to see if, in your mind, there were any exclusions or too many inclusions. Because this will be for the special services bylaw that hopefully will be ready for next meeting.
Just to clarify, on a map like this where there's white areas, that's because nobody lives there. It's not the being excluded.
Not part of, so I didn't copy for myself.
Oh, did you wanna
just
see
need
my-
to see, yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll maybe go and get another copy then. On which one are you looking at?
He's looking at the white
Yeah, the
areas.
rule
Oh.
around the, there's some areas aren't.
Last indication we had gotten from the LUD committee, and perhaps you could update us on this, Councillor Gade, seeing how you're very often in communication with them. Were they still going to be levying via assessment, or were they wanting to be included in a special services?
Well, best answer I can give to that, a week ago, at the LUD committee meeting, there was certainly a long, productive discussion about budgeting and ways of doing budgeting, whether to do assessment, buy a service fee for certain things. And really, it was a lot more in depth than just that. That paints a great picture of probably an almost 2-hour discussion going on. The LUD committee had intended to be here tonight to meet with council from 6 p.m. until 7 p.m. And they had arranged childcare in one case, and arranged rides, and arranged their lives to do that, and then late yesterday found out our council was not intending to meet with them tonight. They were offered instead an opportunity to be a delegation.
Answer the question or just
I am answering, I have 15 minutes to answer.
whatever?
Well, and so you guys get really mad at me when I tell them what we're up to. But we went to a meeting last week. And
Which wasn't fiery by any means.
Well,
Right, Facebook was.
we went there. We told them that they would meet with us from 6 until 7 tonight.
We said
They
it
made
could be a
those plans.
possibility, and
Right.
that's true.
And then what we actually did, instead of an in-person meeting with them here and us discussing for an hour and coming to some resolution on a variety of topics, we told them they could have a 15-minute delegation spot by telephone, which they then turned us down and refused to come and see our council because their feeling was we weren't respecting that.
Well,
So,
just
specifically
as
to
a
your
bit of
question-
an explanation here before it gets off topic, our assistant CEO was called away to Winnipeg on an emergency health problem, and that was why it was changed from an hour meeting, because he could not be here. So he envisioned then them attending by phone, very little or no expense, to put a wish list or get conversation going. And as you suggest, they refused, and so I think what probably is gonna happen is a committee will be struck and we will meet with them to get the conversation going, because time again is slipping away, and they didn't want to wait until budget time, and we certainly don't wanna wait until budget time to begin conversation, so.
Is that what 9.5, what we wanted to speak about? Because that's where I wanted to bring up the
Yes.
committee ideas.
Well, setting dates to this also. They have not, to my knowledge, made a decision.
No, they have not made
So-
a decision. No, I can,
It's pretty defined though, the
But we
number of
need to
residences in the LUD.
Certainly that wouldn't change. I think the only thing they're still trying to make a decision on is whether they go to a set fee
Assessment?
Yeah.
per house
No, I
or whether they
understand.
simply do it by assessment.
that is
And they're,
correct.
I think it would be fair to say the committee's almost split on that. They're gonna have to find some agreement there. They're not leaning one way or the other yet, because they're kind of leaning both ways.
Okay, because if they
That
go
is-
by assessment, then a public hearing, et cetera, is not obviously required.
No, that's why I
But it
think,
will be for the rural.
Yes, and certainly I would think we should move ahead for the rural area, and if we have to play catch up on the LUD part, let's do that.
Yeah.
But we could start on the rural areas and have our ducks in a row so we don't end up not
no,
being
we
done.
have to.
Because we know what our decision's going to be.
Okay, so are there, did you have something?
I was just gonna answer the question about the
Oh.
map.
Yes, always.
Okay, so I worked on this with Emily's through CGIS. She had a way of taking out any places that didn't have a house on it. So that's why it looks like there's the white spots around it.
So I agree with
In-
doing that for our purpose of counting, but I don't want to do that when we pass a special services levy.
If a special
If
service.
we do that, because the reason we,
This
say
is
for example, there's no
strictly,
house there today, but someone builds next year, if we pass it saying
Oh.
the general area, all houses within this zone, and we would name the quarters, we might even name all the blocks, but we would name the ones without houses. Because then if someone built a house, they're still automatically covered by it. We don't have to come back and update our special services bylaw because someone built a house. Or because someone
Yeah.
tore down a house.
this is just for the purposes right now,
Just for counting.
but it is all included.
Okay, good.
Probably could be covered by
Can I call?
the
Oh, yeah.
200
You
houses
can
or
have
whatever the
it.
exact
Bring it.
number is currently within the LUD, plus any additional homes built.
We might,
Next number.
you normally when you specify the area, you would say that this quarter section, this quarter section, this quarter section, inclusive of the plans area. And that would cover anything in these
in that
6
area?
block squares, right?
Yeah.
And then if this got subdivided later and houses built, it's still covered.
Still covered, yeah.
So, for what we've all seen, any glaring omissions?
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
The only when we first got this package of maps, it wasn't just this, it also included fire protection. I'm all in favor of what we're doing for recycling. I'm not so in favor of it for fire, but speaking to recycling garbage, I think this is well said.
Okay, if there's nothing further, 9.2, kennel dogs. We had a report that there was some movement of some animals out of the community, but have you heard more recently if it's incorrect?
That was incorrect.
Okay,
That was a friend of a friend who has the same dog that was visiting. So that's why that dog appeared to have left Kenville, but it is not.
okay. Have we notified the RCMP, do you know,
I'm
to declare the dog a dangerous dog?
Well, you need to declare
I,
3.
wasn't that a while back? I wasn't part of any of that,
You
sorry.
didn't.
So we were going to redo that,
Oh, okay.
because there is 3 there.
Okay, the way to handle it then would be a resolution from this table declaring that council believes such and such, such and such, such and such address have dangerous dogs.
Yeah, I don't know if there's more than one address.
You don't know if which?
I don't know if there's more than one address for those dogs.
Oh, they're all in the same?
I believe they're all in the same.
One owner.
Well, those 3 that I know of that are dangerous or would be declared dangerous are. The other 9, I don't know. Well, I know there's 3 and 3 and 3 and 3. And one of them is not tied up, and one of them apparently is a trained guard dog. It is not ever tied up. I don't know if we have a trap big enough to catch them in.
Well, they never leave the property though, or at least the
Well,
one doesn't.
Two of them do apparently.
2 of them do?
Yeah. One is never tied up. The actual trained guard dog never apparently is on any kind of chain.
I have not heard any news on any action taken since our last meeting, and I think it was suggested then that the dogs be reported to the RCMP, and it's unfortunate that,
Well, I'm talking to a resident of Kenville that they have been reported, and the RCMP said it's not their problem.
whose problem would it be?
There is another number here, I can get it.
Did you raise your hand that you were gonna take care of it?
I
That's our
guess,
bylaw, yes.
yes, it's, you know, seeing how we've chosen to have this discussion out of camera for some strange reason. We had discussed in camera previously what we were going to take for action. We've discussed it for several meetings. I'm kind of glad we're discussing it on camera because so far we've been unable to provide an update to the residents of Kenville, but tonight we're able to do that now. So we had several meetings ago discussed taking action in accordance with our animal control bylaw. The portions of the bylaw that specifically prohibited the dogs from being tied to a tree, tied to a post. Our bylaw requires that they must be given a certain area to run in, a certain area to do things. We made that decision as a council. We sent that to administration to take care of. The answer we received back was that it couldn't be done because nobody was willing to follow the bylaw because of fear for personal safety. We then discussed it some more at this table, and we looked at some options for what we could do about that. And we've discussed numerous times now that the RCMP are not the authority holding jurisdiction for the dogs. It's us, because it's our bylaw and it's required of municipalities. We have also discussed many times that the RCMP have indicated a willingness to attend with our staff to serve such notice under our bylaw of breaches of the bylaw and give an opportunity for some of those dogs for 7 to 30 days to be resolved. In the instance of the dangerous dog, our bylaw provides for immediate seizure of the dog. Once it's seized, we would then hold a hearing under our bylaw to determine if it was a dangerous dog or not. We'd hear the evidence to be presented of what it allegedly has done and allegedly has bitten a person or chased a person or both and has certainly bitten an animal. We would hear that. We would make a determination if it's a dangerous dog at this council once it was seized. If we determined it to be a dangerous dog, the dog would be euthanized at that point. If we determined it wasn't a dangerous dog, it would be returned to the owner. It didn't sound like anyone was that particularly interested in attending to the residents, even with the RCMP, for fears of personal safety. So then as a council, we determined that we would hire a process server to serve the notice under the bylaw. That was a couple meetings ago. Then at the last meeting, we found that instead of doing that, what we'd actually done was spent about $1,500 to patrol Kenville every 2 days, looking to see if there were dogs in Kenville. There were. We discussed at that point why we had spent $1,500 on patrolling Kenville to see if there were dogs, when clearly there were dogs. Then we decided we would again have a process server serve notice under that bylaw, and we were going to also explore if there was someone that would attend to seize that dangerous dog so that we could hold the dangerous dog proceedings. Unfortunately, to my knowledge, none of that's happened. I can advise I attended Canada recently and spent a couple hours there. And certainly the dog problem has not gotten any better. That particular day, there were fewer dogs tied to posts and trees, which was an improvement. But the barking and the running at large and such were still much of an issue in Campbell. So I think probably the decisions we've made in the past are pretty good decisions. You know, if we can't, you know, I don't want to put anyone in harm's way. If staff feel they are in harm's way by doing that, I don't think they should be the ones doing it. I think we should be hiring outside, be it a process server or be it perhaps more than that. For the seizure of the dog, certainly we could hire the sheriff. That would be something we could have the sheriff do. It could be in conjunction a process server to serve the other issues and the sheriff for the seizure. But we should do those things. We've made those decisions as council. We just need to get them carried out so we can get on with this and make sure that people in Campbell are safe, those dogs follow our bylaw, and hopefully that resolves some of the complaints. There'll be other things we have to deal with along the way, but certainly the most important thing is we have a dog that appears to be a dangerous dog. We haven't made that determination yet, but certainly under our bylaw, we should be seizing that dog from the things we've been told, holding that dog, holding a hearing for that dog, and then as council making a determination if it's a dangerous dog. And unfortunately for the animal, if it is a dangerous dog, our bylaw provides for the solution to be rather permanent.
You have made some notes, have you, on this?
Yeah.
Because without the assistant being here or the CAO being present, we want to ensure that one or both of them receive this information.
People have received letters. I know that for a fact.
Recently, were they the ones we sent out to every mailbox?
No, well,
Because they tell me we sent one to everybody,
That
just
was
in the
just-
mailboxes. I don't know if they got anything since.
That was in August.
But definitely, we
The other
have a
ones-
bylaw, it should be enforced. There's no question of
I
that.
don't know how to check. I know 2 of those households have received letters about the dogs. I don't know if it's their dogs or
Just
our
all.
dogs.
We did do the others, which was helpful.
But
But make sure
it's-
everybody knew the rules.
It's the same problem in every town. It's not like Kenville's the only place that has a problem, but.
And it's not just happened either, it's been ongoing apparently for numerous years. Still no excuse for it continuing to to go though. Same with 9.3, the Swan Lake Watershed District. This has to do with the low-level crossing just off north of Harlington. We had requested Swan Lake Watershed to co-op with us in doing a design and getting engineering for the crossing, as well as to be working with fisheries so that it would be sanctioned by them, because without a fish ladder, they do not allow major repairs or renovations to low-level crossings. They would like to see them done away with, simply because it inhibits spawning fish from swimming upstream. Unfortunately, this office had received communication from Swan Lake Watershed 9 months ago. And because of the juggling of CAOs, it had fallen through the cracks and only got back on track when I started questioning administration about it a couple of months ago. And hopefully we can now get things back up and rolling. They had requested, meaning Swan Lake Watershed, had requested some information from us. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to supply them that information so that we can begin the process of doing engineering, etc., on the crossing. So again, please make a note that James will see and Ken will see that we need to fulfill the requests as per Swan Lake Watershed. Okay, 9.4, trick or treating.
That is, I had a few requests from residents asking about our rules for trick-or-treating, which we know the province has set out safe rules. So then I looked, Swan River doesn't have anything listed, but I did look up some other close towns to see what they had did, and they said to follow their guidelines, and then they gave some ideas, and I just thought maybe that would be nice if we gave some on our website too. And, like the 2 meters distance, and when approaching houses, wait until the group ahead of you is gone, take your turn, and then it was other things like if you're handing out candy, use tongs, don't hand out candy that's not wrapped, stuff like that. Like I just got ideas from other places that we could maybe just post on our website, or even like an email could be sent to the schools and that could go home in the agenda, just saying that remember to follow the rules and try to stay as safe as possible. And there's always a link to the,
So you've supplied,
I don't know, what does anyone else think?
You have supplied.
Well, I printed out ideas from border towns, and just thought maybe I could work with Donna a little bit, or we could. Anybody else have any?
Do we, before amalgamation, of the first year or two after, the curfew existed in Benito? Does it still?
It wasn't enforced last year. That was when the fire department used to patrol it. They hadn't had to in the recent years. So.
Is it still on the books? Do we know, or is it actually?
Well, it should be there somewhere in the Benito. But we
probably
could also write the curfew hour on our.
If it's there,
Yeah.
we should put the information.
Well, I'm sure it
If
has
it
not.
doesn't exist.
It should be there. We can look that up.
I believe since amalgamation, their existing bylaws become our bylaws as well, so.
Yeah, so
And I
that's
believe
the
that
rule
curfew
it
is-
probably exists.
I believe that curfew is 9 or 9:30.
Yeah,
Maybe even 10.
That's pretty early.
Well, that's early enough. It's dark. So does everybody agree that we could? And
I think so.
it's
Okay,
not like we're making the rules. They're
No,
there
we're just
to
making
follow.
sure people know.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of people wondering.
I have one question about the school division. They'll probably be sending one out though, hey? The school
It's
division?
different from, like, I think
Okay.
if before I leave, if I talk to you about this, I think you could, especially Benito School, because that's our
Ours.
biggest.
Yeah.
If you could just email it, and I'm sure
Sure.
that teachers wouldn't mind putting it in 30 or 40 agendas, like,
Okay.
because we put it in one family agenda, so.
Okay.
And I think that would be appreciated. Just to remind everybody to
Be safe.
be safe and respect people that maybe aren't handing out, and why.
A lot of parents
Remind.
just receive an email too from the school.
Well,
Yeah.
the other thing we're gonna put in there, if you're not handing out candy, a sign, just on it, you'll put a nice sign
Yeah.
where it says, due to COVID.
Some other places said that, but the ones I looked at didn't. It just said respect, lights out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Always in the past.
Yeah.
And,
Nine
and
point-
like,
sorry.
and like it said, if you're going out with most children are going out with their parents, they're going to respect the guidelines.
Yeah.
They've made that choice to go out. So,
Okay, 9.5 LUD, is there anything more to say on that, or we've covered that?
I think we should set some plan in motion. They clearly want to meet with us, and they probably want a longer, not a shorter time. So however we're going to accomplish that, we should do something, because obviously we do want to hear from them and come to agreement with them.
Okay, they have 3 members of the LUD, from the LUD, plus 1 from council. So if we name 3 members, that would even the score, and there would be no feelings of intimidation or anything else. To have some people who would be prepared to.
Would we name Councillor Blosha as one of our 3 maybe?
Pardon?
no, I'm already on there, so I'd rather just be 3 others as well. I'm part of the
I
other.
would.
I would say the Reeve should be there.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
I would.
I'm certainly interested as well.
Okay, what are your wishes?
I would be there too, but I mean, I don't have to.
Well,
you know.
we only want 3.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Otherwise, it's a
Yeah,
feeling of
no.
intimidation, or it could be interpreted as that.
No, I don't.
So, Darryl, you put up your hand first, and I think Matt, you did.
Yeah.
You're prepared to meet with them sometime?
And you'd have James there too.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
he
he
would
should
have
be,
to be.
because he
No,
comes
so
with me
just
to the meetings
to
and
answer
listens to them.
questions, right?
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah.
No, he would have
He
to
can
be,
get the information.
but he wouldn't be a voting individual or.
No, not even
Would be a
be part of
resource.
the discussion, it'll just be for information more than.
And we're aware they are asking to meet with the whole council.
Pardon?
They are asking to meet with the whole council.
Well,
So by doing this, we would be kind of going
Could
against
that-
what they're asking for.
could that still not happen though occasionally, Bill?
I suppose it
But at least
could.
if we have the same.
Preliminary discussions, I think, could be with the committee, and when it comes closer to
Yeah.
the final strokes, you obviously have to involve the final, or the whole council, so that you get total agreement or
So
whatever.
wouldn't we just use the finance committee then? And it's budgeting, it's finance, it should just go to finance committee to meet with them.
Comments, anyone?
Whichever, that's fine.
I don't know who's on finance. Is there-
I'm not sure who's on who is on finance.
Myself, the Reeve.
It might be too many. The finance can just determine themselves who goes and
Finance
doesn't.
committee is a council as a whole, not?
No, it's not, it's bylaws like that.
Oh, okay.
It used to be council's appointment, that we had to get one member off of it.
That's probably me.
No, it wasn't you. Much more normal member to get off, than what would take off everything. Finance committee at the moment, that isn't committee, there it is.
Everything but finance.
Yeah, it's council.
Galloway, Blosha, Wills, Pierrepont, Foster, and Kushniryk.
Oh, up here. Audit.
For the finance committee to pick 3,
Finance.
you know, that would be all within.
I think they
Finance,
did pick
finance
3, so I
committee.
said, let's go with Matt, Reeve, and Darryl.
Yeah, that sounds good.
To me, it should be equal
Just-
numbers,
Yeah.
because otherwise there could be a feeling of,
No. that
as I
sounds
say,
good
of
with me.
intimidation or whatever.
And as for the record, I'll point out they were asking to meet with all of us. And there isn't a great track record on this council for reading the municipal procedures manual and then following it. So I would encourage as strongly as I can the finance committee to actually read that document before they go to that meeting, because they certainly have read it at the LUD committee and are holding up copies of it and shaking them and banging them, and you're gonna wanna know what's in there before they start quoting it to you.
I mean, all the ones you keep giving them.
Actually, I haven't given it to them. They managed to print that themselves. They have this amazing thing in Benito called a printer, and the ability to make their own decisions.
Okay, that's.
Okay, let's move on.
His was equally
My printer's
fine.
not working, I'm just saying.
Maybe you could.
Okay, so that's who we will,
Facts coming
who
through.
we will
Okay,
have in the meeting with the LUD committee.
Should try to meet them as soon as possible.
Yes, I will try to
Please.
set up a meeting this week, yeah.
Thank you. I keep thinking it's Wednesday, but I'm not.
Okay, we'll get into 12 committee reports. Do you have anything, Councillor Gade?
Well, I haven't been to a lot of committees lately. Unfortunately, I'm still not a member of them. I did attend the LUD meeting last week. It was an interesting meeting, quite lengthy, quite a lot of discussion, which was good discussion. The committee was going through a lot of budgeting, and so some of the things they brought up at committee, they had determined approximately 20% of what was the at-large mill rate for 2020 appeared to be things that weren't actually related to Benito. For example, the entire cost of gravel for the rural area was billed at large, not to the rural area. So Benito paid a portion of that, and that actually Benito, I didn't check the numbers, but the committee indicated, one of the members of the committee indicated that about 5% of the total tax bill of Benito had actually gone to pay for gravel in the rural areas. And overall, about 20% had seen things like that happen. They showed some examples of how about $1 million of spending had gone from the rural area to actually being taxed in Benito as well, even though much of it wasn't necessarily, in their opinion, Benito. Some of it I agreed with, some of it, there were things that might be best at large, but that was the points they were making. They discussed meeting with our council. They were quite excited at the prospect of spending some time with our council and discussing it. There was quite a discussion which I found productive about ways to maybe approach our council that wouldn't be seen as confrontational. And I think James deserves some credit there. He did an amazing job at giving them some ideas of ways to present what they want without saying it's this way or else. Ways to open some discussion with us so that we're able to discuss and talk about things and maybe see where they're coming from, and then maybe see where we're coming from and find some compromise rather than being stuck far apart like we've sometimes been. So that was very beneficial. The committee also had a discussion about a house in Benito that they're quite concerned about with regard to water, and I thought it was really good of them to be working on stuff like that and looking after their area so well. And obviously it come from staff, it wasn't necessarily the committee itself that came up with it, but certainly kudos to the staff as well for paying attention to what's going on in the community. That's why we're so happy to live in a small town, right? Is that we can look after each other a little better. So that was all part of, no doubt, their minutes that unfortunately we never get to see here. But they do exist someplace. Maybe someday we'll see them. On the communications section, I know we talked about it briefly when we were mad at each other, but I think we've all calmed down a little bit now. There's a fire protection grant, which is due November 6th. That specifically could be used for buying a fire truck in Benito. And I know that we have a fire committee to apply for the grant. If we were following the rules, we would pass tonight a resolution authorizing the Reeve to sign the grant application or staff to submit it. And we would do that before November 6th, so it was in on time. There's $5 million available across the province. Obviously, we won't get all of it, but a $5 million fund that could present to us possibly $100,000 towards fire truck. The grant scoring has been released, so we can tell how to make our application better. And given the trouble that we have not being able to go into a house that's on fire safely, that would score us extremely high on this grant. So we would be very likely to get funding with it, as long as we get the application in and dot the i's and cross the t's and make sure that we watch that scoring criteria and point out that very important piece that currently our fire department can't go into a house, because that will make the difference between getting a wee little bit of funding and getting a substantial amount of funding for that fire truck. It'll raise us right up there to the top of the list. That's the problem we have, so we may as well tell them about it and get the funding. And every dollar of provincial funding we can get, obviously, is one less dollar we have to look for from our local area. So, I'm sure, I know Councillor Blosha has indicated that's been worked on. But
Yeah, the
good.
fire chief and the assistant CEO have been working on it.
Good. And
So
if we
I
could
thought
just
it was
give them-
something we could discuss here because I had something in camera for that. And then we could, it wasn't written down, but it's,
So it wouldn't really be in camera, because we technically write down what we're going to do.
yeah, but I just
That's-
wanted to have clarification on something else.
Okay, that's good. So yeah, it would be great if we passed a resolution here tonight to get that grant going. And that's all I have for my
But just so
report.
you know, it was being worked on.
I know, but they really need us to pass that resolution, because it's gotta go with the grant.
Oh, yes,
Or else,
but you always seem to have ways to make it look like it's not being worked on.
I guess it's the first time it's been discussed at this council table since
True.
it was announced by the province. So I would think
Well, actually, no, it's the second, because you brought it up,
after the meeting.
and yet have failed to initiate anything to help council with it, I may point out, except to
which-
criticize, so.
So was I
That's
on the
okay.
fire committee anymore, or did you guys remove me from every
Okay,
committee?
moving on.
Yeah, let's,
So
I
just
have
to be
started
clear,
a
if you remove me
resolution.
from committees, don't expect me to do the committee's work. Put me
I-
on the
I have-
committees, I'll help.
I have started a resolution, and perhaps you can finish it while we move on. Thank you, Councillor Gade. Councillor Pierrepont.
I attended a settlement services meeting and met with the new people from LaPaw. They came to the meeting and talked about what they're doing there and how fast it's growing. And I had an HR meeting. And that was it for me.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Wills.
I also attended an HR meeting, and I had a safety meeting last week as well. And as we heard tonight, we are going to be shutting down that committee.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Blosha.
Or Tyler, he's on the phone. Okay, I'll go. Well, I had an LED meeting, but Councillor Gade told you all about it, and I wanted to bring up the fact to have a committee to speak to them and give them their time that we should be giving them. And I also had a safety meeting, which we finished off the safety procedures we needed to have. And I think that was all for meetings from me. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Foster.
I think I'm good.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Kushniryk.
Okay, I had the HR meeting, safety committee meeting, which was all the things that were already reported. Library meeting, they're reporting attendance is up to pretty much where it was before. They're seeing an increase in online attendance for checking out books and whatnot that way. As well, I met with the GPS guys last week, Monday, and they inspected the graders to try and give us an idea of what they can do for us for GPS requirements that we would require. So those results are still to come. Looking for a quote from them. So yeah, that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I forgot, I also attended that with Tyler.
Okay.
GPS.
I had an HR meeting as well. Also had a Swan Valley Business Consortium meeting on the 23rd of October. They had a member of the RCMP there, and call volumes are up extremely over previous years. And it seems that COVID seems to be the crutch that everybody is using or blaming for happenings in the valley. But regardless of the reasons, call volumes are up quite a bit. There's also been a lot of pushback from different groups, organizations, with the increase in fines that the province announced for contravention of the local districts that had higher incidences of COVID, and as a result were put under different restrictions, I guess is the best word to put. Mental health issues continue to be a concern in the valley as well, and again, COVID largely to blame for the increase in mental health. It's not only in the community at large, but even in the schools. Resource people have said that there is an increase in the number of individuals who are suffering from mental health issues. Excuse me. The Chamber of Commerce gave a good report, and for the most part, I think a lot of businesses at least are pleased, maybe isn't the word, but are partially satisfied with the amount of business that they are doing, given all of the restrictions that are in place. So the business community, even though it is down substantially in some areas, a lot of the areas of local business are weathering the storm, I guess, to the best of their ability. So there's hope, obviously, as there is with all of us, that these restrictions come to an end, that COVID itself gets under control, that there's a vaccine available or other therapeutics that can be used to cure and to make people immune from contracting it. But the warning's there that we should all, even though we aren't mandated to be wearing masks, we should be. Anytime we're in a public place, especially when we can't physical distance, the 6 feet that's required. And it's even possibly more than 6 feet that the droplets, fine droplets from talking actually remain in the air. At first, apparently, they felt that it was only the heavier droplets, which would fall to the ground within the 6 foot range. But now research is showing that not to be true. And something scary really is that the virus itself can remain alive on smooth surfaces such as stainless steel counters or hard, impenetrable countertops for up to 28 to 30 days, wow, which is really, scary, scary stuff. So we ask that all concerned use caution when they go out, and protection for themselves and others by masking, as well as keeping physical distance in mind. And that's my report. Moved by Councillor Foster, second by Councillor Pierrepont. Resolved that we do hereby accept the following verbal reports regarding council committees and communications. Councillor Kushniryk, HR meeting, safety meeting, library meeting, and met with the GPS individual. Councillor Blosha, LUD meeting, a safety meeting. Councillor Wills, HR meeting, safety meeting, and GPS meeting. Councillor Pierrepont, Settlement Services and HR meeting. Councillor Gade attended the LUD meeting and has requested that we do a resolution for a fire grant, which we are doing. Councillor Foster Had nothing to report. Myself was HR meeting and Swan Valley Business Consortium meeting, and James Webb is not here. Questions, comments? Not all in favor? Carried.
Yes.
It's like that,
Delay, slight delay.
you know, when you're watching those old movies and the sound.
Okay, we have come to the portion where we go in camera, but prior to doing that and calling a short recess, is there anyone in the public who are attending via telephone or in person here have any questions or comments?
Reeve Galloway, a very quick comment. If you go back to, I believe, January 18, like 2018, there was a family out in the area where I had my trailer that had dogs that were deemed to be dangerous dogs, and they had to have a wire kennel with a cement pad for those dogs, and the dogs had to be leashed from the house to the kennel. They weren't allowed to go freely. So that might help you with your kennel problem.
Yeah, they obviously did not have this kennel prior. How were they required to?
They had the kennel, but they weren't leashing the dogs from the house to the kennel, and they got loose, and they came about half a mile down the road and went for me and my property.
Okay, but the question I'm asking, I guess, is how were they made to conform to the bylaw?
That, go back in your records to about 2002 or maybe 2003. It was an ongoing situation with this particular family, so there should be lots of stuff in your archives to find.
Okay, so
And there was one time where their dogs got out, killed a gentleman's cows in front of him, and they had to attend a meeting at the RM office, and the RCMP were also involved.
Okay, so you aren't sure whether it was the animal control officer that initiated the requirement to have the dogs leashed and concrete?
I'm not sure who did the requirements. I understood it had actually come from council. Back in 2000, 2003, in that era, they actually had some dogs that were seized, had to be held at the vet clinic for, I think it was 30 days, and then put down. They were not allowed to dispose of the dogs themselves.
No, so then the animal control officer obviously would have been involved to have the dogs impounded.
Yeah. Actually, at that time, Tony Hayes was the bylaw or the animal control officer, so she may be able to enlighten you on what the steps were taken.
Okay. Anything else from anyone? Well, thank you very much for attending, and we will now call a 10-minute recess.
Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And ladies.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good night.
Yep, night.
Okay, we've just come out of in camera. First resolution, moved by Councillor Foster, second by Councillor Gade. Resolved that in accordance with clause 8.5 of the bylaw number 0002-15, the council shall extend the curfew by up to 1/2 hour in order to complete discussions regarding agenda items. All in favor?
Yes.
It's carried. Moved by Councillor Foster, second by Councillor Blosha. Be it resolved that the Municipality of Swan Valley West instructs staff to apply for funding from the province for the fire protection grant offered by the province of Manitoba. Questions, comments? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
Carried.
He's getting quicker.
Varsha Lawn.
Exercise is waking them up. Okay, is there anything further?
I want to be on that one with Glen there to move the meeting closed.
Sorry.
It's already done. We can't forge your signature.
Okay.
We don't write as nicely as you do calligraphy.
It's a true story.
My apologies.
Okay, moved by Councillor Foster, second by Councillor Pierrepont, resolved that this meeting shall now adjourn at 11:20 p.m. Be it further resolved, the next meeting is Tuesday, November 10th, 2020 at 7 p.m. All in favor?
It's the day after my birthday, just so you know.
Opposed? Tyler, are you there? Are you awake?
He's already home.
Are you in favor?
Yeah, I'll be in November.